Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, the least interesting man in the world, my brother Mike.
I'm not the least. I mean, there's some people out there who have less interesting lives, but I won't argue that I'm interesting. I will not argue that. I can't back that up with evidence. So I will not be stating that.
No, he is. He's got the his interestingness is roughly the structural integrity of wet toilet paper. I mean, it's not good at all.
Yeah.
He just he would eat white bread every day and watch history documentaries. That part is actually true. Documentaries on the Boer War.
Yeah, my wife thinks the same thing. Like every time she tries to do something spontaneous, I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes. This was not planned out 6 months in advance. I'd rather just sit right here on the couch if you're okay with that and watch a show that I've already seen 4, 5, 50 times. Okay.
Classic you. Thank you so much for joining us for what is, I believe, our second. Mike, is this our second sort of camp report day or whatever? I think so.
Yes, it is.
What's weird is being down here in spring training, days are sort of running into each other. Everything is just one big blur of baseball and video content and making podcasts and writing posts and everything. But make sure you're seeing all that content by following us on all the social medias, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and all that sort of stuff. Make sure you're checking in. You're subscribed to our Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. Mike is putting out a daily camp update of what we're seeing as we sort of go to spring training and go to the games and sometimes go to the backfields and things like that. A lot of interesting stuff to take in there. So make sure you're following on all of those. I also want to say, make sure you're supporting our sponsors who are wonderful and afford us the opportunity to do things like come down to spring training. And one of those sponsors is All In Physical Therapy. If you need one-on-one personalized physical therapy, make sure it's with All In Physical Therapy. They're one of the only companies that gives you that exclusive one-on-one experience. Give them a look up at their website, allin-pt.com. That's allin-pt.com. Mike, we're going to start today's conversation by talking about the thing that matters the most. We were super pumped for Cole Ragans Day, going out to the park today. The Royals played the Colorado Rockies in spring training, and we're getting to the point where the lineup's going to be mostly major league guys. They're going to be playing a little bit more. The pitchers are going to be pitching a little longer, and we got to see Cole Ragans live. What was your take on the Ragans experience in person? He didn't pitch super great today. What were your thoughts on seeing him?
Yeah, and we were sitting legitimately directly behind home plate. So if you see a clip of the Maikel Garcia home run, you'll see Tubby number 1 and Tubby number 2 here sitting back there in our boonie hats, just trying not to get sunburned and not sweat too much. But yeah, it was not what I wanted for Cole Ragans Day. Apparently, obviously, I will say this: his stuff was probably a tick down from where it's been, which just seems like a theme since we've been here. We are terrible luck, by the way. They have not won a game we've gone to. The Rockies' right-handed hitters, especially, were waiting on that fastball and hitting it the other way, and that plan was perfect because they put one out that way. They hit multiple doubles that way, and then when he would try and put breaking stuff over, it would either be way out of the zone or right down the middle. It was one of those days for him. And so at least in the first couple innings, it was. His last inning was actually probably his best one. He didn't finish out the whole fourth inning, but that probably was when he looked the best, I would say, which is not great. But, I'm not worried about Cole Ragans. I'm still excited for the next Cole Ragans Day. Like, I love Cole Ragans Day. And so it's not a big deal, but I wish we would have gotten a little bit better out of him. And it was a beautiful stadium. Salt River Fields was really, really, really nice.
It was, and it was a beautiful day. I mean, a perfect day to go watch baseball. It probably stayed at 75 the whole day. There was enough cloud cover so that you weren't getting just beat down by the sun. It was really gorgeous out there. Ragans, even stuff on his not great days is still pretty good relative to there are days when if Jordan Lyles doesn't have his best stuff, you're like, this guy would get hit around by a AA team. Cole Ragans, he got hit around by some professional hitters who were doing pretty good out there and had the right game plan against him, honestly, because even though his velocity was maybe down just like this much on the fastball, they were still it was still going hard. I mean, it was 96 to 98 most of the day. And so the idea of waiting on that pitch, and he threw 50% fastballs, I saw, but waiting on that pitch and driving it to right field was the best answer they had. It just continuously worked because, they were hitting him hard. He was throwing them hard, and they were making solid contact to right field. And so, bad luck for him not bad luck. I mean, they beat him, and and that happened. But it's one of those outings that you kind of toss to the side and say, well, maybe next time he'll come out with his premium stuff and he'll just be lights out against somebody. I will say, you mentioned this is a trend since we've been here. The trend is not just bad pitching. It's also pitching velocity being down for pitchers, right? So we've seen velocity down from Angel Zerpa, from Will Smith, from Chris Stratton today. Even though he pitched well, he averaged 93 miles an hour on his fastball last year. I saw mostly 91s today and some 90s, honestly. So we're seeing a thing where, and of course, John McMillan, he came out and was throwing 92, 94 at times. I never saw anything above 94 for John McMillan's outing yesterday. So there were a couple good pitchers today. I liked how Stratton looked, even despite the velocity issues. I liked how Josh Taylor looked. He was pretty good. So there were some good things to take away from the outing today, and some guys hit, of course. Bobby Witt Jr. with 2 hits. Maikel Garcia had a home run and 2 walks. So that was nice to see. But the Ragans thing, we were really hoping for more there.
One thing that I did notice was at the end of the second and in the third, he started going to that cutter a lot more as he kind of realized the fastball was not working for him. Now, the cutter was a pitch that he went away from last year, but it makes me wonder if he didn't have that success in the third because the guys could no longer just sit there and try and pound his fastball into the right field corner, and the cutter was kind of throwing him off a little bit. So I wonder if this is a normal start during the year, if he doesn't go to the cutter a little bit sooner when he's in trouble like that. So we'll see. But yeah, that wasn't great.
That wasn't great, but I'll tell you what is great. What is great is Knapp Family Wealth. Okay. If you need somebody to help you control your finances, check out Knapp Family Wealth at knappfamilywealth.com. That's KNAPP familywealth.com. Tell them that Mark and Mike sent you. Tell JC that you're a friend of ours. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun to hang around and talk shop with, especially baseball and things like that. I do want to bring up another sort of thing that was interesting to me as we looked at the lineup today. We saw that a lot of guys in the lineup today were guys who you would expect to be part of the bench position battles that are taking place. So Mike Brusso started today. Nick Lofton started today. Freddie Fermin started today. Who else started today, Mike? Tyler Gentry started today. Garrett Hampson started today. A lot of those sorts of things. Mike, what was your impression of the way that those bench players played? Who do you think might have made a decent impression today with their play on the field?
I thought Lofton made a decent impression. He hit the hardest hit ball he hit actually got caught on a fantastic diving play by the center fielder, but I thought he squared it up pretty well. He did have a hit. That was actually probably his weakest hit ball today. But I thought he looked pretty good as far as at-bats go. Hampson had 2 hits. I mean, that was probably the best we've seen Hampson hit the ball and really play overall, because he did make a good play in center as well. But the rest of the guys, Tyler Gentry had a rough game. Your boy did not look great.
Hey, just because he had a rough day, he's not going to stop being my boy. He's not going to stop being my boy. I hold on to him.
Brasso had a hit, I think, but I'm not a big fan of Brasso necessarily. The rest of them were okay. Freddie Fermin didn't do great. I think he had an opportunity with guys on base and didn't capitalize. But I think he might have had an opportunity with the bases loaded, if I remember right, and didn't capitalize. So wasn't great from all of those guys, but a couple bright spots in Nick Lofton and Hampson were good to see.
Yeah, and anything Hampson can do will be good, because I think he probably really, at least in the mind of Royals fans, he really sowed a seed of doubt in there that he would make this opening day roster. And, he's shown the position versatility. He played shortstop yesterday or a couple days ago when we went to a game, played center field today. That's valuable unto itself. But you watch this guy step up to the plate and you're like, I don't think this guy could hit one out if you gave him 100 chances. You watch some of the plate appearances he takes and you're like, why is your approach that of a Salvador Perez when your power is that of a Nicky Lopez? None of it really makes sense as a total package to me. Like, what are you doing out there, Garrett Hampson? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So we'll see on that. Lofton has probably put together a much better spring than somebody like Garrett Hampson, but in the late couple weeks here, we'll see if Hampson can sort of make a case that he actually belongs on the roster on the merit of his actual play and not the fact that they signed him to a $2 million contract in the offseason.
Yeah, I think that one of the interesting things that will factor into that heavily is what's going on with Dairon Blanco. Because I think they might think, well, we can if Blanco's going to be down, we can keep Hampson as kind of our super utility guy and don't have to keep a fifth outfielder. And then we can also keep Nick Lofton. Maybe they may both end up making the 26-man coming out of spring training. So we'll see on that. I think there's still a lot to figure out on that, but it's something that could happen.
Yeah, if you don't know, Dairon Blanco was going to go in for an MRI on something in his lower body.
His
it was
calf.
It was his calf. Yeah. An MRI on his calf. We initially reported the same thing. I mean, reported it. We got it from MLB.com, where they stated that it was just a cramp that brought him out of that game. Well, then like a day later, it comes out that, oh no, he's actually getting an MRI. So we're not sure exactly what it was. Might have just been a cramp, but he might have an actual calf issue. And so, yeah, that will play a big part in what takes place at the end of this roster and on this bench. Is it, will it be a Hampson and a Lofton? Will it be a Drew Waters, who we watched have a big game yesterday? And it's all up in the air right now until we know sort of what is going to happen with Dairon Blanco. But we do know that what's going to happen with Erick Auxier of West USA Realty is he's going to help you find a heck of a house in the Phoenix area real fast. If you don't know, Erick Auxier of West USA Realty is the best realtor in the Phoenix area by my estimation and many others. So if you need housing in the Phoenix area, give him a call at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. You can also just shoot him a text. That's easier. But, give him a call, shoot him a text. Either way, he wants to hear from you. He's happy to talk to you and answer any questions you have about housing in the Phoenix area. Mike, I want to wrap up our conversation. Oh, yeah. Always smells great. I mean, I don't even know what the answer is. He smells incredible. But I want to talk a little bit about the roster overall, Mike, and the last few spots on the roster. How do you think it's taking shape now, as we sort of have seen some guys who look like they may or may not make it onto the roster? We saw John McMillan optioned today, was it? I think it was today.
Yeah.
We saw, or yesterday. Today. We saw Tyler Gentry optioned today too. That clarifies a couple of things a little bit. What are your takes on sort of what that means for the roster and what the roster might look like in a couple weeks?
Yeah, well, if you go back a few weeks, you can listen to the episode where we kind of gave our 26-man roster prediction for the year, our first one. I think a lot of that has held up. I really do. We never thought John McMillan was going to be in this bullpen to start the year. The one thing that we didn't have that I think now is trending towards likely is that Alec Marsh is going to make this bullpen. We thought Angel Zerpa would, and I think we're still pretty confident in that. But we also probably think Alec Marsh makes it as well. That creates an interesting situation in Omaha for starters, but right now there isn't really anybody who else has stepped up. You and I talked through this scenario today. It's kind of a Alec Marsh versus all of the non-roster invitees for that last spot in the bullpen. Guys like Sam Long, guys like Sessa, guys like my boy Dan Altavilla.
Dan Altavilla.
Like, yeah. And so I don't know. We kind of gave the nod to Marsh because of his ability to work more than one inning, because of his strikeout stuff, that sort of a thing. So, and because he's already on the 40-man. And so it doesn't create some issues with the 40-man, although they probably have a spot that they can open up for that. I don't know. I think it's pretty much shaken out. Like you said earlier, the Blanco thing throws a real monkey wrench into it. It kind of makes it tough and Drew Waters is playing so well, and Dairon Blanco goes down, and Hampson's been playing a lot of center field. So it's tough. But I feel like our roster prediction is still pretty solid, honestly, for the most part.
Surprisingly solid, given we're like 2 or 3 weeks away from it. I'm like, I'm still a little surprised. The Carlos Hernandez thing is probably the only thing that's really not proving out because he got hurt. But, other than that, it's looking okay. When you think about Marsh versus the non-roster invitees for a spot in the bullpen, that will come down to a lot of things that have nothing to do with how they've pitched in spring training. That'll have a lot to do with, or how they could perform at all, right? That'll have a lot to do with inventory, whose contracts allow them to opt out if they're not in the major leagues and things like that, as well as, how do I say this? It might be that Marsh starts the year there in the major leagues because he has options. That way they could option him down and bring someone else up. and they wouldn't have to do something like DFA someone to bring someone else up. Do you know what I'm saying? And so they have to think about things like what's going to allow them to keep the most pitchers that they possibly can, the most quality major league capable pitchers that they possibly can, both either in the organization in general. And so, I don't know the details of the contracts for Sessa and Altavia and Sam Long and all those guys. If they have opt-outs, they have a much higher chance of getting onto the major league roster. If they don't, there's a good chance they start in AAA and someone like Marsh starts in Major League Baseball. But it's all a very fluid situation, right? If Marsh comes out and just is ineffective, or if somebody gets hurt, boom, he's down, somebody else is up. It could be that quick. And so we'll see as that sort of continues to emerge. They still have a couple of weeks to make an impression in the minds of Jay Chipocolo and Matt Quatrero and the whole front office and things like that. But if you're looking for like who might have the edge right now, Mike seems to be convinced it's Alec Marsh. I'm not predicting in this one. I'm hands up because I don't want to get it wrong. You know what I'm saying? That is all we have for this special episode. We will be back again tomorrow with another one. So make sure you're just constantly looking at the podcast feed you use every single day, because we're coming out with a new one every single day. Until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.